Alright, exactly what are carbohydrates? You would have heard people talking about cutting carbs, simple carbs maybe, you would have heard of complex carbs. What actually are these? Well, at the base level, carbohydrates are just sugars our body uses for energy. These simple carbs or simple sugars are just single molecules, or sometimes, if they're getting fancy, two molecules. They're monosaccharides, or they call them disaccharides. So one or two. Now, complex carbs are when you have multiple molecules. So you have polysaccharides. Many. Just think of them like polyamorous. They're polyamorous molecules. They've got many partners and they're held together by the fibers. Is this important to know? And why do they actually matter? Because if we're trying to have more of a steady release of sugar, if we're just eating simple sugars all the time, our body will digest them, break that chain down. If we start with disaccharides and there's two, it'll pretty well break them down to the one molecule really fast and then get rid of that and use it up really quickly. But if we have the polyamorous carbohydrates with all their partners, that chain is possibly a lot longer, a lot more complex. It takes a lot longer to work through and break down, because essentially what it's doing when we take any sort of carbohydrate, it's trying to break it down to its simplest form, down to the one, and use that up. If we start with 10 molecules, for instance, it'll take longer to break down to that simplest form of one than it would if we start off with just 2 molecules. It's because it takes longer time. It means the energy that is produced and released will be more sustained and take a lot longer, over a lot longer time. If you're eating a single molecule, say refined sugars, you'll get that energy usage really fast, but it's not going to last as long. Gotta love the wind here. We'll go with the bird look for now. But does that mean that we should really be demonizing simple sugars all the time? No. If you're eating refined sugars like your caster sugar, that might not really provide a lot of nutrient, a lot of vitamins, and it's going to give you that and be used up pretty fast and not real quality for us. But there are simple sugars in things called fruits and veggies. You may get some of these and it may be a simple sugar and it may not last the longest. It may not be super complex with all of the polyamorous partners, but guess what? It's still going to have some vitamin and mineral content to it. Don't demonize simple sugars, just know the difference between them and the complex carbs and why you might be using them and what benefit you're going to get out of them. No, don't cut them out, just know which ones you're using and how often. Alright, hope that made it simple.